In this video, I want to show you how to solve for x, a little bit of algebra with vertical and linear angles in a geometry course. If this helps you, please like and subscribe for more help in geometry and all other math topics. So, let's begin with just drawing a couple of lines intersecting. What we've created here are four angles, right? Four angles. Vertical angles are ones that are across from one another. So these two I'm pointing at, or these two that I'm now pointing at, are vertical angles. Vertical angles will always be equal to one another. Linear angles are ones that are adjacent or next to each other. So, for example, these two are next to each other across just that line. Those are linear angles, or we call them a linear pair. These two that I'm pointing at. These two that I'm pointing at. And linear pairs will always add up to 180 degrees. So quite simply, you need to ask yourself every time, are the two angles equal to each other, or do the two angles add up to 180? And then you do your algebra to solve. So for example, if I said 2x and 60, you'd say, okay, I have a 60-degree angle across from one that's 2x, and then just say, are they vertical or linear? Well, they're vertical. They're across from one another. So you simply set the two equal to each other, and then solve. Divide both sides by 2. X is 30. Now let's say we had something like this, where we said, well, this is 4x, and this is 80. Solve for x. Well, in this case, we'd say, well, those two are linear. They are right next to each other, not across the angle, not across the intersection, but next to each other. So those two, 4x plus 80, must be equal to 180 degrees. So I would subtract 80 from both sides. Again, you probably learned this all in your algebra course. 4x is equal to 100. Divide both sides by 4. And x is 25. Well, let's look at something that might be a little more complicated. Let's say that this angle was something like 4x plus 50, and this was 7x plus 80. Let me go back. Let me say it's 7x plus 20. Okay? Well, those are vertical angles. They're across from each other. Okay? And therefore they are equal. So you'd say, well, 4x plus 50 is equal to 7x plus 20. I'm going to erase that little degree thing. Okay? So in this case, I would take my non-x's, get those together. I usually move the non-x's to the right. It doesn't matter, but then I move the x's to the left side of the equal sign. Divide both sides by -3. And there we have x is equal to 10. So again, even though they were a little more complicated, same rule still works. So don't, be thrown. The two were vertical. We just set them equal and we solve. Last one. Let's say we had something like this. Well, those two angles, being a linear pair, they must add up to 180. So you'd simply say, all right, 5x minus 10 plus 10x plus 20 equals 180. Now, I usually like to combine my like terms on a side before I start moving things over. So I would say this is 15x. Let's see, negative 10 plus 20 is positive 10, like this. Subtract 10 from both sides. Divide both sides by 15. And you could type that in to get the decimal answer. But again, in geometry, it's always a question of, are the two angles equal or do they add up to 180? And you just need to make that decision and then follow the algebra steps that you need to.